Before James Harden started his journey with the Philadelphia 76ers, he was a part of the Brooklyn Nets. His time there, not so good. The wait is over, the time has come, sit back tight and get ready. The juicy details on why James Harden left the Brooklyn Nets are finally out. In this video, we'll be talking about Harden's time with the Nets and how he really felt. Let's get right into it. First up, let's take a look at Harden's time with the Nets. It's finally out in the open. James Harden talks about why he left the Brooklyn Nets. He opened up about everything he didn't like while playing at Barclays Center. Despite the fact that he performed admirably when he played alongside Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, Harden's time in Brooklyn was a complete failure. The renowned player arrived in Barclays Center prepared to come out on top for that slippery NBA title. Sadly, things didn't go the way Harden had planned. James Harden left the team after a first season filled with injuries. It was hard for him to find his groove with Durant and Irving. In the massive trade that brought Ben Simmons to the Brooklyn Nets, Harden arrived in Philadelphia to join the 76ers. Harden is working hard to get back to his best and help the team compete in a stacked Eastern Conference, but he hasn't convinced anyone that he was the right player to play with Joel Embiid. And now, why did James leave the Brooklyn Nets? Many people are still curious about the circumstances surrounding Harden's forced departure from Brooklyn after all this time. The 2018 NBA MVP discussed a variety of topics, including his legacy and relationship with Kevin Durant during his time in Brooklyn, in a recent Fox Sports interview with Yaron Weitzman. Harden talked about the things that he certainly did not appreciate in Brooklyn. All of these reasons piled up, ultimately making him leave the Nets. The entire vaccination mess involving Kyrie Irving came first. Additionally, multiple Nets sources claim that Durant and Harden argued throughout the season, with Durant telling Harden that he didn't think Harden was in peak physical condition. Now that's hard for anyone to hear. Harden, on the other hand, had a hard time adjusting to a world where he was no longer the center of attention. Harden, according to a friend, also became dissatisfied with the Nets training staff's emphasis on upkeep, rest, and recovery. After all, he never got hurt in Houston when he ran the lift and stairs in the stadium, sometimes even after games. James explains that he had a different idea of what the team should be like, but not everyone agreed with him. James talked about a lack of structure in the team and how it's important for anyone to have structure to succeed. His exact words, "I don't mean to just down talk to anybody or whatever. It was just, there was no structure, and even superstars, they need structure. That's what allows us to be the best players and leaders for our respective organizations." After all, it makes sense where James is coming from. His concern about a lack of structure can be justified. As we mentioned before, Harden and Durant were constantly against each other. The absence of structure during Brooklyn's 2021-22 season is unquestionably justifiable. Up next, did the Brooklyn Nets really lack in structure? In Brooklyn, the Harden-Durant-Kyrie Irving super team experiment never really took off. They were fantastic in the brief glimpses we saw, but they only played 16 games together between the regular season and the playoffs when they went 13-3. Injuries and a freaky global pandemic contributed in part to that. However, Harden's criticism of the Nets' lack of organization is justified. The Nets frequently gave in to their stars' demands too easily. Because DeAndre was friends with Durant and Irving, they signed him to a big contract in free agency. This caused internal conflict when then-head coach Kenny Atkinson started Jarrett Allen over Jordan at center. After Atkinson was fired from the Nets, Durant basically chose Steve Nash to be his successor because the players had pushed for his departure. He also vanished when the players stopped paying attention to Nash. Despite his scandal, it appeared that Ime Udoka would be the next in line, but he was never actually hired, and Jacques Vaughn took over instead. Their handling of Irving's various controversies, on the other hand, has been at best haphazard. To be fair to the Nets, many teams would give up power to get these talented players in. However, there are risks involved, and the Nets have paid the price. And now, did James and Durant have a controversial relationship? According to previous reports, Kevin Durant and James Harden were engaged in the Cold War during the latter's final days in Brooklyn. According to a Bleacher Report from February, Durant eventually pushed for Harden to be traded, and Harden's lack of conditioning was a part of the issue. Even though this piece of information is not brand new, it is noteworthy that it has been verified by a different source. We have now also found out how Durant constantly made remarks about Harden's weaknesses, regular arguments, then Irving's vaccination controversy, amongst many others of his controversies, all led to Harden's decision to leave, and with the right reasons. or so it seems. Up next, Harden's injuries made him frustrated. As we talked about Harden's dissatisfaction with the training staff, when Harden was asked about the time he spent in Brooklyn, he didn't exactly jump to answer. "I wasn't able to get healthy," was the first thing he said in response. Harden suffered a hamstring strain in Game 1 of the Nets' 2021 playoff series against the Milwaukee Bucks in the second round. He missed Games 2, 3, and 4. He played in the series' final 3 games, including a miraculous 53 minutes in Game 7, but he was not himself, as the Nets lost at home and were eliminated. Harden's 2021 season, which was already cut short by the pandemic, was derailed by the injury. He was not only unable to play for Team USA at the Olympics in Tokyo, but he was also unable to play pickup and was not in game shape by training camp and the start-off at the 2021-22 season. He missed quite a lot of games while in the well-being and security conventions. He experienced a sprained knee, a hand strain, and an injury in his hamstring. Before being traded to the Sixers at the deadline, he missed 11 games altogether, and he missed 7 more in Philadelphia. Well-being was unquestionably a critical factor in James' net experience. However, it's hard to tell how much of that was Harden's lack of conditioning, as suggested by Durant, and how much was just bad luck. And now, can we consider James Harden a quitter? The label of a quitter put on Harden still raises questions. Is James Harden really a quitter, or did he leave the Nets for the right reason? This is what Harden had to say about the label given to him. "I knew people were going to talk and say you quit and all that stuff, but then the following summer, the other superstar there, Durant, wanted to leave. So it's like, am I still the quitter?" Given that he made these remarks nearly a year after being traded, Harden asserts that he never quit playing for the Nets, an accusation that clearly hurts. However, while some of his previous assertions were valid, this one is a little bit more difficult to accept. His final game with the team was on February 2nd, when he was completely absent against the Sacramento Kings. He shot 2 of 11 from the field in 37 minutes and had more turnovers than points, 6 in that game. If you don't believe us, go back and look at the game's footage. It's shocking how little effort was put in, especially on the defensive side. James is right that both Durant and Irving have attempted to escape Brooklyn in the months since he left. However, their activities don't retroactively exonerate him. Don't go anywhere just yet. We're just about to uncover why Durant was keen on leaving the Nets, and we have a special section addressing Irving's COVID-19 controversy. Up next, why did Kevin Durant express a need to leave the Nets? Kevin Durant discussed his plan to leave the Nets at the Nets Media Day. KD referenced that the questions came after Brooklyn lost a few games they might have won. Durant expressed how he wanted the players to be held accountable. This is what he had to say: "I wanted everybody to be held accountable for their habits as basketball players. I think a lot of stuff was getting swept under the rug because we're injured or this guy's not around or just the circumstances," he continued. "I thought we could have fought through that a little bit more and focused on the guys that were here a little bit more." Seems as though Harden was right about a few things at least. And now, what was Irving's vaccination controversy? The global pandemic, which lasted from late 2019 to early 2021, resulted in a significant number of deaths, economic ruin, and psychological effects that are still being investigated. That is to say, it was not a joke at all. Lockdowns, mask mandates, and of course vaccines, when they finally became available, presented challenges for both governments and citizens at that time. Enter Kyrie Irving and the New York vaccination scandal that followed. We'll break it down like this, without going into a lengthy review of each step along the way. The state of New York enacted a law that mandated the vaccination of athletes, entertainers, and anyone else who entered an arena. As a result, players on the rosters of the Knicks and the Nets who were unvaccinated were unable to participate in home games. Kyrie missed the majority of Brooklyn's campaign due to his refusal to receive the vaccine. Big yikes. Last up, how is James Harden doing with the 76ers? James now believes that it's time to go back to his real Harden self as he enters his first full season with the Philadelphia 76ers. Harden is shooting 43.2% from the field, 36.2% from three-point range, and 88.2% from the free throw line in his 13 games, averaging 22.1 points, 10.8 assists, 6.7 rebounds, 2.6 threes, and 1.5 steals. The 76ers currently hold the 5th best Eastern Conference record, which is 15-12. It's safe to say that Harden's time with the Nets was not the best. From disputes with teammates to frustrating injuries, James Harden decided it was best to start a new chapter. Whether or not Harden's statements can be justified or not, it's what the man feels. What do you think? Is he a quitter? Let us know in the comments below. Hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching. See you next time.